Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. First off, is it the right play to save Whole Hog to take down Photon Barrier? I find one of the funnest things to do as Roadhog is to wait for Symmetra to use Photon Barrier and then Whole Hog it. I don't think it can 100% solo the big wall, but it's definitely close enough that trash damage from teammates in the meantime will bring it down. Well, so let's go find out how much damage Whole Hog does, right? Roadhog stats. Stits, but I think Google got the idea still. How much damage does Whole Hog do? I'm still basically gonna say, no, don't do this, but we'll see how much. Max damage is 4,928. Damn. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. I still don't think it's worth doing that, just because Photon Barrier is very unexciting as far as ultimates go, to be honest with you. Like, it can be very annoying, true enough. I can imagine situations in which I would want to do that, but I'd rather just use it to actually just still decide because I decided I didn't want to take part in a fight, more than just I didn't want this barrier to be in the way, you know? Yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing it in many situations, but it would probably upset the Symmetra quite a bit. So there is that. Let's see, wanting to learn DPS. I'll be honest, I'm not a great player. I main Ana and Moira usually, but sometimes I play tank and decided I want to learn how to do damage heroes properly. I've messed with a few and decided the ones I most fun with are Hanzo, Ashe, and McCree. And most of all, Sombra. If any of these heroes could teach me to do stuff / do a practice match for the hero picks for high ping. I have to play with 180-ish ping. That's not the worst. I've heard worse. Well, Torbjorn's a good one. Turret. Winston. D.Va's okay, honestly. Mei is probably fine, you know. The ones that don't have any precision aiming to do, even Pharah would be not that bad, to be honest with you. Hanzo, because, you know, just spam. That's a solid tactic with Hanzo. But, like, Torbjorn and Winston are going to be, like, the two best ones, pretty much. Let's see, indirect but possibly significant Whole Hog buff. Whole Hog has been historically considered a very meh ultimate, but with BAP incoming, the ability to do... Oh, yes, I see. Due to the ability to cancel his invincibility field. Yep, that's true. It will push them out of that. It will also do a lot of damage if pushed through the amplification matrix. Yep, that's the ability. That's the name. Because Whole Hog already does a fucking lot of damage if you combo it with Nano Boost, so if you comboed it with the Amplification Matrix, it would also do a fuck lot of damage, so hey, that's nice. Whole Hog gets to be a little bit better overall for something other than defensive use, basically. What's the best situation for Batista? Assuming you're doing like a standard main tank, yeah, From what we know so far of Baptiste, when do you think it would make most sense to use him over the other three off healers? Well, I think he might end up being the best healer, so it might not matter that much, because he might just blanketly be a very good pick. In terms of, like, actually, though, team comp-wise, he probably will work really well with, like, a bunker comp, so like Orisa Roadhog type combination. I think he'll work well with Goats. I think he'll work well with Bastion. Because I don't really see how he can't work well with Bastion, to be honest with you. But I imagine that he'd be alright with a dive comp still. Like, it wouldn't be his ideal situation, but he'd be okay still. But I think that like a Roadhog Orisa and Bastion will end up being like his best comps, but I think he'll basically end up being pretty much fine regardless, pretty much. Aim improvements. I'm a pretty recent Overwatch player who has switched to PC and have been playing around 3 months now. I have pretty decent aim consisting of 40% to 50%. Hit scan player, but I want it to be better and want to improve efficiently on aim, so my question is what training or method improved your aim the most? Just playing a lot of games. And, you know, it's one of those things where people are desperate to have a shortcut answer to, right? Like, improving your aim is a very laborious process because the method of improving your aim is practice a lot. You know, like, there's all the Anabots and all that, but I don't think that any of that actually helps. I think Anabots is actually counterproductive because all you do is get better at shooting bots. Human beings don't move like bots do, so I don't think that actually helps you because you just get used to shooting bots, not real people. Like, you just have to play the game a lot. There are very few shortcuts you can take on that. I think there are basically no shortcuts you can take on aim, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just one of those things, you know? How do I get better at aiming? Play a lot. How do I be not bad at a fighting game? Play the fighting game a lot, you know? Like, there's no shortcut to it. You just gotta kind of practice a lot. Tracking simulator. So I want a tracking course that explains, like, the diagram below. The blue circle slides along the black line over to the red circle. You need to track the blue circle to the red circle. Yeah. Not the best. I'm not that great at tracking. I am weak in that department. I am really good up, down, left, right. I use aim-tastic, but aim-tastic has nothing like this kind of... whatever. To flex or not to flex. If my best heroes and the ones I want to improve on are hitscan DPS, should I flex if the rest of the team is uncooperative? I climbed to Masters playing hitscan and fall into mid/high diamond trying to flex to help teams that couldn't care less about whether we win or lose. Do any of you have any opinions on what I should do? So I think that you should flex if your team comp's gonna be bad, pretty much. Like, if you're good on those heroes, try and pick those heroes, but if your team then decides, like, we'll pick a few more DPS on top of that anyway, then you should change, yeah. You know, ideally you change to something where your skills will translate across. Like, if you have to fill to a support, you're gonna be better off picking, like, Ana or Zenyatta if you're a hitscan player, because they have the most crossover with the hitscan DPS, basically. But, and if you're gonna flex, just try and focus on, like, a couple of heroes still in each role, so that you're improving on those, rather than just flexing all over the place and then being just kind of mediocre at the whole thing. And, you know, life's difficult like that sometimes. Basically, insta-lock that DPS, but then if your team decides they aren't going to go along with that, then go, yeah, you know, guess I have to do something else now. Which, you know, sucks, but hey, that role select ain't coming. If it's coming, it ain't coming anytime soon. Daddy Jeff kind of alluded to that maybe they were working on a role select not that long ago by saying that people overestimate how easy it is to implement that kind of system. First off, I don't think it's that difficult to implement, actually, but basically the people always say queue times will be dramatically increased, and we need to find a workaround for that, and the workaround is just that, like, it autofills you to a in-demand role every now and then, and once you've been autofilled in, you're immune for X amount of games, and then, hey, it's done. And yeah, you gotta program all that in. Life is difficult like that sometimes, but I don't think it's actually that difficult to implement the system. It's just whether or not they want to implement the system, and I think they really don't want to. Also, if they're, like, the specific example he mentioned with, like, a soldier player having a 17-minute queue time, if that's the case, that the queue time is gonna be that long with role select, you don't have many people playing the game, do you? Like, that's really, really bad if implementing a role select would increase queue times by literally, like, 20 fucking minutes. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Yeah, but life will be difficult like that. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to in this video game. Is it good to remap shift keys to somewhere else? It seems that escape and self-peeling abilities are almost always mapped to the shift key, which kind of feels awkward to use since I feel my reaction time to press it is larger than other buttons. What do you think? For the most part, I kind of just play with the default controls for you, to be honest with you, with a few exceptions. Like, here's a really good one for you. Farah, put Concussive Blast on right-click, because by default, Concussive Blast is on E. And that's a ridiculous place for it to be. Right-click, by default, is use boosters. Like, you know, what you use the space bar to do. So, yeah. Another common one I've heard is actually rebind Tracer's ult to the shift key, because it's easier to maintain movement if it's on the shift key, basically, because you don't have to take one of your fingers off the movement keys to push shift, whereas you would have to with Q most of the time. So that's another common one I've heard of, but for the most part I just have everything on shift still. There are a few that you could move it around on, and I mean, you know, whatever works for you. Like, if you want to remap your buttons, like, remap your buttons, whatever. It's the same thing with the sensitivity, right? If a button feels like it's in a wrong place to you, put it where it feels like it should be, you know? Like, just blanketly, I rebind melee to another mouse button, because I got extra buttons on this thing for a reason. And, interact is sometimes on F. That's fucked up with a video game. Interact is meant to be on the E key, always. There was a game, what game? It was I Divine Cybermancy, where, I know, that's a fucked up name to suddenly pull out of nowhere, isn't it? That game, the interact key is on Enter by default, which is really, really fucked up. It was a game from a simpler time. We were young and stupid and didn't understand how game design worked at the time, but, boy, you know, Enter. Enter is where it is by default. Isn't that fucked up? So the short answer, though, is just remap it wherever you want it to be. Is, but I have gold healing comparative to, but I have gold damage? Not really, like, sort of, but, like, it's really hard to have healing that didn't do anything productive, right? Like, it's very easy to have trash damage that didn't contribute to anything. It's hard to have trash healing that accomplished nothing, right? So, like, it is still technically possible, but, like, not really. Like, if you healed someone, the fact that you healed them is kind of unequivocally good that you did it, whereas it's possible to do damage that was pointless. It is comparative in that having gold healing is not necessarily indicative of having a good healing number. Because you might have gold healing at, like, 1,000 healing at, like, 7 minutes into the game, right? Which is really fucking bad. So, the fact you have gold healing doesn't necessarily mean the number is good, especially when you're probably only competing against one other person. And one of you is just generally expected to do more healing than the other person is, so... The number itself might not be good, but it is very difficult to have pointless healing. But it is fairly easy to have pointless damage, so... In a way, it's comparative, but in another way, it isn't comparative. What should I be doing in between fights? I'm starting to learn shot calling, and I'm wondering what I should be doing, thinking between fights. Pretty much waiting. Like, it is, you know, just waiting where the enemy team is not likely to kill you. Some heroes can, like, safely poke at the enemy team while they're waiting for their team to regroup. Like, if you're playing Genji, you can just be harassing people from, like, really far away and be at close to zero risk. It's very hard to be at actually 0 risk, but it is, you know, you can be pretty close. So, Pharah can poke from pretty far away. You know, someone like Moira, Reinhardt, you can use your abilities to, like, farm up some ult charge really safely between fights, but, like, pretty much just waiting. And even if you are one of those heroes that can poke safely, if you have the reason to do that between fights is purely to build ult charge, because the poke will amount to nothing else between fights. It's possible it might lead to a pick, but if it's between fights, you're waiting for your team to regroup, so the pick is less likely to do anything anyway. So even if you are a hero that can poke safely, it's to build ult charge, so if you have your ult, just wait still anyway. But pretty much, just wait. That's pretty much all you can do, because you can't accomplish anything while your team's regrouping, right? The best you can do is poke and build ult charge, pretty much. And wait for your team to actually group up, which, you know, might take a while. You know, it might take a while for your teammates to stop staggering and actually regroup, but that's pretty much it. Just had a match that's convinced me to learn D.Va next. What are some of the most common mistakes lower-level D.Vas make? Just kind of wasting defense matrix, which is way easier to do now, seeing as they keep nerfing the duration on it. Because you want to use defense matrix on, like, really big money abilities, right? Like, you want to eat, like, Fire Strike, Bio Grenade, the Sleep Dart maybe, what else is a really good one? Like, ultimates, obviously, you know? You want to use it on, like, important stuff. People just, like, hold it up to block, like, trash damage, basically. You don't want to do that. You want to use it on, like, actually good stuff. The most common mistake, though, is thinking that D.Va is the same as Winston, which is not true, because Winston can, Winston has the benefit when he dives in that he has the bubble, which is better in defense than defense matrix in its own way, because defense matrix is a very powerful cooldown, but it can't do what Winston's bubble does, because Winston is safe from all people when he jumps in if he's got the bubble on him, right? Whereas, because it's 360 degrees protection. Whereas D.Va's defense matrix is very short duration and only in front of her. So Winston can jump into multiple people, put his bubble down, and be a lot safer than D.Va is. Because he puts the bubble down, dances in and out, like, it makes it harder to get abilities to land on him. It makes it harder to take damage, for him to take damage if he bubble dances correctly. D.Va has no such protection, she just has defense matrix. So she's better at focusing on one person. Like, she finds one person by themselves, one person is out of position. She can dive on that one person and really fuck them up. But if it's multiple people, then they can fuck up the D.Va a lot easier than they can fuck up a Winston. So that's a very common one. They'll just kind of, like, chuck their bomb in the enemy team, kind of, like, hoping it accomplishes something as well. Self-destruct. I was gonna say self-defense, just say self-defense matrix. So, you know, that's strong. That might as well be your ultimate, to be perfectly honest with you, but they'll just kind of chuck self-destruct in, like, hoping it kills a bunch of people, which is very rarely the case, even more so on specific maps, like King's Row. It's very hard to get self-destruct to kill people on that map, just because there's a lot of places to get out of the way. So you kind of have to think about how you're going to use it, because if you're just going to chuck it at the enemy team, that's because you're organized enough to either combo it with another ultimate, or your team is going to engage on the enemy team while they're hiding from the self-destruct, because that makes them, like, have to position in places they don't usually want to avoid self-destruct. So you coordinate it with your team to go in. Or combo with another ultimate. Or you can just use it to, like, zone people off, because if, like, Genji starts using self-destruct, sometimes Dragon Blade feels like that, you know? If Genji starts using Dragon Blade, you can just use your ultimate, and then Genji has to spend some of his time hiding from self-destruct, or maybe dies to it, depending on when you use it relative to when he dashed in. So bare minimum, it'll take a fair chunk of duration off of Dragon Blade, and that's a pretty good trade, because Self-Destruct is not a very good ultimate, whereas Dragon Blade is a very good ultimate. So trading yours for his is a good use of company resources. they use like sound barrier to try and engage a fight, you can just throw self-destruct right in front of them as they're trying to go in, and then they go, well, suddenly it gets a lot harder to just push past that, doesn't it? You know, you can use it for that kind of thing. And sometimes it's just more important that you're in a mech. Like, sometimes you lose a mech right before a team fight starts, and it'll be worth using self-destruct just to get another mech, because it's more important you're in a mech than saving self-destruct, because self-destruct has a limited use, and D.Va out of mech is not a hero. So sometimes it's worth throwing it away purely to replace your mech before a team fight starts. And those are like the really common mistakes I see D.Va players make, basically. The biggest one by far is playing D.Va like she's Winston, because D.Va cannot get away with the same stuff Winston can get away with. But conversely, D.Va can get away with stuff Winston can't get away with, because she can just, like, burst someone to death, whereas Winston can't. So, there you go. I am flexing, but always doing poorly on tanking and healing primary. Should I focus on one class then, or keep flexing? Will take much longer in terms of becoming GM level with heroes, while specializing in classes better. Issue is that many like DPS that I am having a stroke. So many people flex DPS that I have to flex. So the rest of the team can stop complaining and don't get mad at me for being third DPS. Then they complain I am bad at healing and or tanking, and I'm all shaken up and can't aim and suck at DPS, so I don't know what to do. I would play main tank more, but 1, it isn't fun. 2, you have to lead. 3, I am not good at shot calling. You don't have to shot call to play a tank, man. I played Reinhardt and got to Masters without ever talking to another human being in voice chat. Like, cause when you use Earth Shatter, they don't need to be told to go in, basically. And I don't use my mic all the time due to harassment on my speech impediment. Yeah, you know, it does suck for you if you have a speech impediment or are of the feminine persuasion, because, you know, that's gonna get you some shit sometimes, isn't it? Pretty frequently, let's be real here, you know, with an online game as... an online game in general, but particularly with a community as bad as Overwatch is. So, you should focus on one class, but sometimes you'll kind of have to flex, basically. It is more important that you play a hero you're good at than changing to fit the team comp. Because, and you know, that'll be a controversial opinion, but the thing is, if you have to play a main tank, but you have no fucking clue how to play a main tank, there is no point you playing the main tank because you will not be able to execute the role correctly. So it might be like, you should tell people, I'm awful. I can't play this role. And if you can't play it, you should just pick something that you're better at. You know, try to still pick something in the role if you can. Like, if you have to fill to a tank, try and pick a tank that you're capable of playing. But if, like, that tank's gone, or already been picked, or, like, just for one reason or another is not really viable with what you've got going on, like, you got a dive comp, but you can only play Orisa or something, right? Then just tell people, I can't play that hero, and pick what you can actually play, because it's more important you play something you can actually play, rather than changing to something you can't play to fit the team comp. This is something I find to be universally true across all games. Skill with the hero is greater than the hero on a meta level team comp-wise. Because, you know, that's something you'll see in, like, MOBAs a lot of the time. People will, go, oh, I see that X has picked, like, that guy's picked X. I know Y counters X, so I'll pick Y. Have you ever played Y before? No, this is my first time playing Y. So you won't actually counter the person, because you don't know why they counter them. Or you don't know how to execute the counter properly, do you? You know. If you play League of Legends, you know, I know Renekton counters Jax, but I've got no fucking clue how to play Renekton, so me picking Renekton would be a waste of time, because then I'd just get beaten on the counter pick, and then people would laugh at me, and I would feel bad. So, you should, if you don't know how to play something, just pick a hero that you know how to play. Tell your team, I can't play that. Like, I just flatly am terrible, will feed, will not play the role correctly. Someone else should do it. And if they still, and just like say, you know, don't be an asshole about it. Just like go, fuck no. Obviously, no, I'm not gonna do that. Just go, I can't do that, dude. I'll be bad. Somebody else should do it because I'll be bad. Here's what I can do instead, you know? And if they still don't want to work with you on that, just pick the hero you know how to play, and fuck it. Aita? What's that mean? I don't know what the kids say these days. AITA. What's that mean? The All Indian Tennis Association? That seems likely. Am I the asshole? I see. So the thread becomes, am I the asshole for throwing a game? Yeah, kind of. You know, what's the context? Hit my peak of very high. A few games later, someone on the other team asked for a draw. Didn't understand, but it only took one fight to realize they had a cheater on their team. Eventually, we agreed to draw and spent the rest of the map messing around. However, some of their team was still trying to win, and even after they gave in, they're still farming stats. Anyways, the next game I end up on Koth Busan, and by the time I had realized that I had avoided the cheater, it was too late. The cheater used voice and was very smug about the whole thing. He even bragged about helping people reach DM and highlighting the problems in Overwatch. Back to the game, I exclaimed that I was going to throw because of the cheater, not a great idea in hindsight, even when he suggested he go Mercy. Turns out, my teammates weren't really on the same page and were furious that I was throwing. After a hard-fought game fighting as Hog, the other team managed to win, but even after the massive victory, I still feel awful for making my team lose. Am I the asshole? No, I don't think you actually are. If you had a cheater on your team, I would not be trying very hard to win anymore either, because, like, it doesn't mean anything if you win because you had a cheater on your team, right? And, like, okay, your team's still trying to win, they want to win. The other team doesn't feel good because they lost to somebody that's obviously cheating, do they? So either way, someone's gonna get fucked over, so, no, I don't think you are the asshole. I would probably do the same thing if I knew I had a cheater on my team. It's like, you know, there's like the thing with a MOBA as well, where if you're playing in a lane and your opponent in that lane disconnects, should I go AFK? Like, that makes it fair, right? It's like, it depends on your outlook on things, doesn't it? Because you can look at that kind of situation and go, this is a free win for me. Or you could look at it and go like, well, it's not very honorable for me to do this. Because it's a free win, and through either like, somebody disconnected or somebody's cheating, you know, like, it kind of depends on what you personally put more value in, doesn't it? I don't personally value my rating that highly, to be honest with you, so I would be more inclined to throw the game if I knew I had a cheater on my team. Because, fuck cheaters, is basically the gist of it. Need some help on Ashe aiming. I don't understand this, but with Ashe I cannot life of me hit consistently. This weird thing happening. Oh, it's because it bounced off that. It looked like it bounced off that hitbox on the pole a little bit. Yeah, because it's sparking off of the pole right here. And, well, that one looked like it should have at least been a hit. Yeah. I mean, I've been told, and you know, this makes me feel less bad, so I am inclined to believe it because of that. I've been told that Ash's aiming down the sight's hitbox. Oh, okay. I've been told that Ash's aiming down the sight's hitbox is sometimes not consistent. Like sometimes it's a couple of pixels off, which can matter. Though some of that was also hitting the surprisingly large hitbox of the pole in front of us, which happens, you know. Some of the hitboxes in this game are pretty generous, we'll say. Though also, aiming, no hero is exactly the same aiming-wise, right? Like, being good at aiming on one hero might make you a little bit better at aiming on another hero, but, like, aiming on heroes is generally completely different because they don't fire the same way, basically. So, you have to build muscle memory for various heroes. Like, it's not possible to, like, get good at Widow by playing other hit scan DPS, right? Like, you have to build up muscle memory for Widowmaker, and that's true of most heroes. So, sometimes life's difficult like that. Widow versus Widow question. If both Widows have walls up and one is in the open and the other is behind the wall, a peeker, who would have the advantage? In this situation, what tips do you have to win it? I mean, I'm not that good at snipers, so, you know, if your reactions are really good, then waiting for the peeker is going to be easier because you'll be able to, because you have the benefit of knowing roughly where their head is going to be when they come out again. Whereas the one that's peeking doesn't know exactly where you're standing, so they have to aim once they come out. So, if you have good reactions, you would be more favored as waiting for the peeker, because you have the foreknowledge of knowing where they will come out. You know, they might do something funky, like come out crouching or something, and then you have to adjust your aim, but then they're moving even slower, and it takes them longer to get into position to actually shoot you, so maybe not. Though, basically, Widow versus Widow's hard, and I don't want anything to do with it, so there you go. You can hold right-click with Reinhardt while shielding to look freely around and not move the shield's direction. This is a very true statement, yes. You actually hold left-click while you're holding right-click, though. Can you main Reinhardt without a mic? If so, how? Yes, you can. I've done exactly that. I have a mic, obviously, but I just hate interacting with human beings, basically. So I come asking if I can main Reinhardt without a mic, and how. Also, so, I mean, basically, you just watch what your team's doing. Like, you don't need to tell your team that you're engaging, to be honest with you. Like, that's not necessary. Because, like, if you land a good Earth Shatter, you land a good Earth Shatter. You know, most of the time, you don't really need much follow-up in that situation to do it, so as long as it was decent, you don't need to tell them you're doing it, you know? Especially since most Earth Shatter opportunities are extremely small windows to actually take advantage of, so you usually don't get time to communicate, I'm shattering, without having already pushed the button. So, like, the biggest thing is you just have to watch what your team's doing more carefully, because they're, I mean, you know, they might not tell you anyway, but they can't tell you what they're doing, pretty much, or, well, just because you have a mic doesn't mean you're not listening, I suppose, but, like, you just watch what your team is doing. Like, they will generally try to follow you as long as you're not doing something ridiculous. So, you don't really need to tell them, follow me, and you can always spam group up, you know, if you really want to. Like, it's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be, because, like, the things you would really want to communicate with Reinhardt is Earthshatter, but, like, opportunities to take advantage of Earthshatter are so small that, like, you can't usually communicate them ahead of time unless you go, like, I'm looking to use Earthshatter right now, you know? Like, they'll generally try to follow you anyway, because the shield is safety. You know, assuming they aren't, assuming they aren't doing something ridiculous, you know. But it's really not that big of a deal. Like, to be honest with you, I'm thinking about it now, and it's like, there is not, I really can't think of much I'd even want to communicate to my team as Reinhardt, but asides like, we're gonna go X direction. But you can always just, in spawn, type, let's go left, right? Or let's go right. If a push goes badly, you can, while you're respawning, go type, let's go the other way this time, right? Like, the things I'd want to communicate are not mic dependent, basically. And it's like, people always, it's always with the Reinhardt, like, Reinhardt doesn't have that much to communicate with you, to be perfectly honest with you. Asides, like, I guess, my shield's breaking, but, like, if they see you moving out of the way while your shield is cracked, they should be... If they think, what's he doing? When you're moving to the side while your shield is cracked, they fucking deserve to die. Like, if they're just gonna stand there out in the open when you're doing that, fuck them, okay? Fuck them. They should have been able to figure out from some context clues what you were doing. Whatever. Anyway. Sensitivity... Dealing with hackers, aka when throwing a game, is good. Oh, well, what do you know? We were just talking about that. Yeah. This community largely believes that throwing is bad no matter what. This is just one example of when throwing is the right thing to do. I agree. Don't let them win. Throwing's not always wrong. It's just that, you know, throwing because you think that your DPS are trash is not a good reason to throw. Throwing because your DPS is obviously using an aimbot is a good reason to throw. Moira is not the best solo healer, and here's why. And played on account of lower elos, I see a lot of solo healers to believe Moira is the best pick. In a vacuum, yes, she can put out a lot of healing, blah, blah, blah. Is not great for comps that move around together, like goats or some forms of death ball. When I read that wrong, I was like, that's exactly what Moira is good at. The most common occurrence of solo healer is with 3 or more DPS, not the aforementioned 2 comps. 3 DPS is almost always a very spread out comp. No, I already don't agree with this. Not necessarily, it depends on the DPS they pick. And also the rest of your team, like... Because if you've got the 3 DPS, like, to be honest with you, it's usually one asshole. Like, a lot of the time you know, personal experience, right, anecdotal evidence, but in my experience, most 3 DPS comps are, like, 2 people picked, like, McCree and, like, a flanker, and then one of the others, like, then some other guy went, well, I'm picking Widowmaker, you know, or I'm picking Genji, right? And then, like, you've still got the other parts of the team, right? Like, if your other team, like, yeah, okay, you got 3 DPS. Well, if you've got, like, Roadhog, Orisa, Soldier, Genji, Soldier, Genji, and then, like, fucking Widowmaker, right? Like, you've still got a pretty together comp, haven't you? So, like... I already don't agree with this, because in my experience, the 3 DPS comp is not almost always a very spread out comp. It is sometimes, but not that often in my experience. And also, if you got 3 DPS, like, here's the other thing. Moira's really good at surviving. So, like, if you got 3 DPS, to be real with you, like, they are probably, like... not that many people are going to be trying to help you. So, because usually the person that helps the support is the other support most of the time, isn't it? So, like, you're probably going to be on your own more often. So, like, being Moira, who is very hard to kill, still ends up being better. You know, and just, you know. That's my opinion anyway. Moira's the best, and everybody else can go fuck themselves. Does switching heroes hurt SR in 2019? So, this was always massively blown out of proportion. The punishing you for one-tricking thing. Because people were saying that it was possible to climb with a negative win ratio if you were very good at a hero. Because you could theoretically just have very high stats and be gaining more SR than you're losing on average. And, you know, people have examples of someone like climbing with a very low win ratio, like a 47% win ratio or something like that. And like, yes, that did happen sometimes, but like, not really. Like, we've seen a lot of people out there one-tricking, haven't we? Like, we've all seen quite a few of them. Does it feel like the people that are usually one-tricking are doing well enough that the performance-based SR system is making them climb with a negative win ratio? Because I don't feel like that's very commonly true. Mostly shown by the fact that most one-trick players usually are not above gold. There are examples of people above gold one-tricking, yes, I know. There's the Torbjorn guy, I know. But like, most people who one-trick were not climbing with a negative win ratio. They were falling with a negative win ratio. So that was always massively blown out of proportion from my perspective. People just had a few examples of it, and they're like, it's an epidemic, it's non-stop. I feel like a lot of one-trick players were not doing that. If you were in a position where you could climb with a negative win ratio because your stats were good enough, I have to wonder why you just weren't winning more games, to be honest with you. Anyway, whatever. So, theoretically, yes, it does hurt you switching heroes, but in practice, not really, to be honest with you. Not really. Been playing McCree ever since this game came out, and I'm disappointed of how much of a laughingstock Deadeye is. Deadeye is way better than it used to be, my man. At least people aren't commonly using it just to reload anymore. Like, sometimes it kills people now. Because it locks on a lot faster than it used to. The best use for Deadeye used to be to reload. It's not as bad as it was. It's fine. It's very good for picking off people or zoning. Where can I get hero icons for all skins? Jeez, oh god. I didn't want to do that. No, back up. Why can't I stick with a role? Every few weeks I seem to change roles. I started out consistently playing support. And I played, how should I learn to stick with a role? I mean, you just find the one that you like the best, you know? Or, like, maybe you're not so bothered about that and you pick the one you're best at, right? Like, there's not really a lot to it. You know, you find the one you like and you just decide to stick to it. I do understand the feeling. Not really with Overwatch, because I've never had a problem with that, but it was with playing a fighting game. And it's still something I kind of do, where like, because the game I play is Dragon Ball FighterZ, and that's a 3 versus 3 tag game. So you make a team of 3 characters, and I've settled on like 2 of them, which is Vegito and Android 21. But the third one I have, I switch around probably like every 10 or so games, because I don't know. I don't know, man. Because I'll play one for a few games, and then I'll be like, I don't really like the way this character feels to play, so I'll try this one instead. This one doesn't really work well with the team, because my team is already kind of a weird combination, so having another weird combination on top of that is like, kind of weird, is like really bad. And then I'm like, well, you know, this one's really good, but I hate him, so, you know, we'll try him out. No, it turns out I still hate him, so, you know, that kind of thing happens to me. But But the advice is literally just find one you like, you know? I just haven't found one I really like with my team. So, you know, I just still switch around every now and then. There's no advice. There's just find the one you like and just decide to stick to it, right? Question on placement matches. For the first time, I play Silver for the next 2 seasons. Recently, I've gotten much better at the game and don't just play Junkrat because easy damage. Now I play 1600 SR. Is it just me or is this bad? Is this just me being bad at the game or is this placement system? But I still placed pretty low. I mean, people are always disappointed. Like, that's not a drastic difference from where you got placed roughly. So, like, you know, the thing is, placement matches are basically just really, like, more weighted regular games, pretty much. Like, if you've got a record of where you were before, you're always going to get placed within a couple of hundred of that in one direction or the other. People always seem to think, like, oh, new season's coming around, it's time for a fresh start, do their placements, and they get placed, like, pretty close to where they were at the end of the last season. That's just how it's gonna be. Like, you're not gonna see any dramatic jumps in either direction after placement games. You're gonna be within range still. Question about SR. I was in a game today that was pretty mad. I'm in low diamond and was matched with a GM on my team and 2 masters on the other team. Said a long way to find a fair match. I was in a duo, my mate is plat. We managed to win 3 and 2 on Volskaya, but only gained 2 SR each. It would be corrected next match, but we only got 22 SR after our next win. Does anyone notice why this happens? That's a very, like, odd jump, certainly. I guess it decided there was something really fucked up with the way the MMR and the SR of the game was. Or, I don't know, your stats were fucking awful. Like, it has to have decided there was some kind of weird discrepancy between the MMR and SR and just decided that, like, it didn't deserve many points as a result. And, because if there was a GM on your team and there was a Platinum player on your, like, as your duo, like, in your Diamond, it might have just decided, like, they probably got carried by that high-ranked player on their team who was the anomaly on it or something like that. Shit's fucked. I don't know, I haven't seen the algorithm, I haven't gazed upon the holy code in Blizzard HQ, so I don't know. I placed Tracer but gave up after a while because I felt like I couldn't confirm kills. My cooldown management got good, I almost never got caught off guard. It's an A, not no. Without cooldowns, but my aim sucks ass with her. Also, target priority could be an issue too. If I can get some tips on how to improve with her. I mean, there's not great advice for aim, because I mean, you know, that's just practice still. Target priority wise, so if you're playing a flanker, you know, like, look at the enemy team comp and decide to yourself, right, so who are the important people to kill? And you're gonna go the supports, probably. But then you also have to go, and, like, maybe the DPS, because they might be, like, soldier, like, you know, easy people for you to kill, pretty much. Because if the DPS are, like, Pharah, McCree, and you're playing Tracer, you know, they're gonna be difficult for you to kill. So you'll usually decide the supports, but you also have to decide which ones you're most likely to kill at the same time, because ordinarily, if they've got, like, Mercy Ana, right, you'd go, alright, so I want to kill Mercy first, because Mercy can just res Ana, so Mercy's a higher priority target than Ana is. Still both high priorities, but Mercy's slightly higher than Ana, because if I kill Ana first, she might get resed. The thing is, though, if you then look at their DPS and go, oh, but there's a Pharah on their team as well, suddenly Mercy becomes dramatically harder to kill, because she's going to spend a lot of time in the air with Pharah, so then you adjust your expectations and go, alright, Mercy's going to be hard to get, so now Ana's easier to kill than Mercy's going to be, so she's still a high priority target and way easier to kill, so I'll try and focus her instead. Let's see, you might look at their DPS and go like, alright, so they've got Ana, Bridget. Alright, so I want to kill Ana, but if Bridget's playing around Ana, then suddenly Ana becomes dramatically harder to kill as Tracer, so I have to play around the Bridget. But then you look over at their DPS and you go, oh, so their DPS are playing like Widowmaker and Soldier, so those are still important people to kill, and they will probably be quite far away from Bridget compared to Ana. So even though Ana's a high priority target, suddenly maybe you go, hey, well, if she's going to be playing next to Bridget, I'll find the DPS that are not playing next to Bridget, right? So you decide who your most important targets are, but then you also decide how realistic is it that I'm going to kill this person? And then you adjust your priority based on how difficult they are to kill. Because as well, your supports are the highest priority targets, but the supports might be like Lucio Bridget. Like, extremely hard people for Tracer to kill. So maybe you just go, alright, well, supports are normally the highest priority target, but I just can't kill them, really. So I'll just go and bully the DPS instead. Even though normally I'd want to bully the supports first. You know? So that's, like, kind of the idea, anyway. Let's see, just don't shoot her bubbles, forehead. But then what should I do? Should I let that Tracer or Genji kill both supports? Should I let that Reinhardt beat mine? How about the Reaper on the front line? Should I stop diving Widow? Should I let Mercy res? So yeah, there are times that you break the bubble, and a really easy one is if you're gonna kill the person under the bubble, then by all means break that bubble and kill the dude under it. Like, it is possible that, like, the person, like, it's very easy to imagine with, like, a Genji, you know? Like, Genji's trying to kill a support. If you think you breaking the bubble is gonna improve your chances of stopping Genji from killing the support, by all means, break the bubble. It's just like you have to decide what realistically your chances of stopping them are increased when you break the bubble. Because, like, I'm imagining the Reinhardt situation right now, where Reinhardt's swinging at the other one with the shield up. Like, to be real, you breaking that Zarya's bubble, if he's just, like, walking up and hitting your Reinhardt through his shield, like, you breaking that bubble does not really increase chances of stopping that Reinhardt. The most it increases it is, if you break it, maybe your Reinhardt earth shatters them, maybe someone on your team has crowd control and will be able to use it, but, like, most of the time, really, breaking the bubble on that Reinhardt will not dramatically increase your chances of stopping the Reinhardt. Because Reinhardt himself is just so hard to kill, right? So, and if, like, he's been bubbled when he goes up and swinging at them, this team's probably playing around him, right? So, like, you killing the Reinhardt because you broke that bubble, or, like, stopping the Reinhardt because you broke that bubble, are dramatically lower chances than breaking Genji's bubble to stop him from killing somebody, right? Because Genji's just a lot easier to kill than a tank is. So, you know, you gotta just think about, like, alright, so if I break this bubble, what does it do for me, exactly? You know, what does that bring me? Like, it might bring you a kill. That's definitely worth it, you know? If it increases your chances of stopping the guy because you got crowd control, maybe you're playing McCree, you see that, like, or you're playing Roadhog, right? Then, like, you know if you have access to your crowd control, right? So then you decide, like, alright, if I break the bubble on this guy, will my crowd control accomplish something, right? Like, if I'm playing, like, McCree and I see the support's getting dove by Genji, I'll go, like, alright, I'll break the bubble and then flashbang Genji and kill him, right? I've decided, if I break the bubble, I'll kill the guy, right? If I'm playing, like, Roadhog, I might go, I'll break that Reinhardt's bubble, then hook him into my team, and we'll burst him to death, right? So you gotta think about what breaking the bubble will do, pretty much, and deciding if it'll be worth giving her the energy. Because you don't want her to get the energy, but, like, it's possible you breaking the bubble will give you more returns than her getting 40 energy. So you gotta just decide in the moment, pretty much. Feeling a little lost as a DPS right now. Would like ideas to bounce around a few ideas. Widow Ash Tracer. Right now I feel my impact is team dependent. I mean, I know this means it's time for my skills to improve as that whole. It's my team crap is BS. I mean, you know, if you're not dramatically better than your team, it is still gonna be kind of team dependent. It just depends on how consistently you you play. You know, that's the idea anyway. Overwatch is a very team-based game. It's very hard to solo carry a game, so sometimes it is team dependent. It's just going like, my team is awful, is just not productive, and probably not true most of the time. Is true, definitely true some of the time, but not all the time. The discussion part of this is a question. Is DPS still a viable option for high rank play? Absolutely! No rank is not. a viable role rather is not a viable option for high ranked play. Like, people about DPS is like the easiest one pretty much to have impact with on a higher level. Maybe not for mid-plat, because I think that might actually be the point where having a better healer or a better tank is actually more impactful than having a better DPS. Though, you know, you'll have people argue on that one, sure. But DPS is like a pretty good one for like a solo anyway to have impact. Second, I think it's time to work on positioning and game sense, as I feel I have reached to a point where my raw mechanics can only get me so far. That, you know, that'll happen unless you're a savant, true enough. Does anyone know any good resources to learn about these topics? Resources, you know, watch Jane. Very smart man, way smarter than me. Unfortunately, there's not like really like good high quality guides out there for that kind of thing, I found. There are some good ones for like supports. You know, there's a bunch, you know, just type in how to survive as, and then insert a support name there, and you'll find a whole swath of videos about that, but there are tragically not very many like high quality guides about stuff like game sense, basically. How do I avoid shots and not die as Tracer? Recently, every time I get 1v1'd, just land almost every shot. Like, to be perfectly honest with you, you know, I'm not going to be able to give you great advice on this, because this isn't a hero I play. I think I'm not sneaking around engaging at the wrong times. That's entirely possible, yes. If you're playing a flanker, you don't really want to get into many, like, straight-up fights. Because Tracer's always going to be stronger if you just, like, pop up behind someone and go, "What's up, man?" and just, like, drill them to death. It's not impossible to just, like, kill a McCree, right? If you just, like, come up behind the McCree and one-clip him, he has to react really fucking fast to not die to you. So, you know, yeah, you know, you don't really want to get in many straight-up skirmishes if you do. If you are just, like, fighting the guy out, then, you know, you can AD spam, crouch, uncrouch, all that, give them the moves with the blink, but, like, yeah, it's about all you can do, really, and then once you get to a high enough rank, they'll be better at shooting you when you do that kind of stuff, so, you know, she's a soft hero. Is you know, difficulty with life. I'm bad at Tracer, so, like, look, don't talk to me about it. How to get better at movement in Overwatch and in general. I was watching Shroud's Apex stream, and he was asked if he could tell someone's skill level right away, and part of his answer was, yes, you can tell by their movement. Well, he says you can't tell by their movement. It must mean you can tell by their movement. Are two very different games, but I feel like this still applies, mainly because when you look at pro play, their movement is so fluid. So I guess my question is, how do I improve my movement, and is this something vital to increasing your level of play? So yeah, movement's definitely the easiest way to tell if somebody's new at the game, pretty much, or not that skilled. The thing is, I don't think it's something you consciously work on movement-wise, because it's, there's so many things that, like, tie into it that I don't think you can just consciously think to yourself, I'm going to improve my movement. You can, like, there's stuff you can do, especially if you're a hero with a weird movement ability. Like, I do think it would be cool if there was, like, hero-specific training type stuff, and one I specifically think would be good would be one for Winston, where you're standing on a platform, like, basically above a vast infinite kill plane, and then there's a bunch of platforms around you at varying distances, so you have to jump on, like, varying sizes, so you can practice, like, jumping variable distances and landing on more precise points, right? I think it would be cool if there was a map that was just like that. And, you know, I think you could have hero-specific stuff like that for a bunch of different people as well, but I always think of, like, that one specifically for Winston would be really good for helping Winston players improve, like, moving with their jump, pretty much. Tragically, no such thing exists, so, you know. But, the thing is that, like, really fluid movement is a combination of a bunch of different things, because first off, you have to just be comfortable navigating the space, right? And even that's not just a straightforward thing, because you need to be careful, you need to be familiar moving around in the space physically. Like, your hands need to know how to move around the space, right? Like, you can always tell when somebody has not had much FPS experience, because you'll see them doing a lot of stopping, and then rotating, and then moving. That kind of thing, right? Because they're just not used to the act of, like, rotating and moving at the same time, right? Like, you'll see, like, they'll stop a lot, and then you'll see them, like, come to a corner, alright, that way, like they're driving a car, right? So... or a tank, I suppose. Cars don't usually stop and swivel like that, I guess. You know, like a tank. You know, you'll see that kind of thing. You also need to know, like, the layout of the map, which is just raw memorization. So, you know, that takes time. You need to know how to position properly, because you need, if you're going to move fluidly, you need to know what you're trying to do. So you need to know how to position properly, you need to know how to decide what you're trying to do, you need to know what you're working towards, you need to know what you're trying to avoid, right? And you just need to, like, practice all of these things. Like, there's so many things that tie into your movement being really clean that I don't think it's really possible to work on it, at least within an FPS context. Because, like, yeah, you know, like, an example I always use is, like, you can always tell when someone's really fucking good at Pharah, because you'll watch them just, like, when you can see a really high-level Pharah player just, like, jump up concussive blast halfway across the map, stop exactly where they want to, and use barrage, like, it looks unbelievably sick, right? And it just takes a long time to get there, because you need to be confident moving as far, you need to know where you need to be, you need to know how to get there, right? Like, there's so much that ties into it that I think it basically is just, like, something that improves naturally over time. Like, you can practice stuff like if you're really not familiar playing FPS games, then you can practice just, like, the raw movement stuff of, like, getting used to moving and, aiming at the same time and all that, you know, strafing and whatnot. Like, you can practice that kind of stuff just on, like, dummies, basically. But really fluid movement has too much connected to it that I don't think you can just practice the movement outside of, like, specific heroes, like Winston, Widowmaker. You can get pretty good at doing, like, hookshot stuff. Ashe can do some pretty cool movement stuff, Hammond can do some cool movement stuff, like, you can practice, like, those kind of heroes, but just overall movement, I think it just improves over time, basically. As you get better at, like, positioning, I think is, like, the biggest thing that ties into it, because just knowing where you should be will make it a lot easier, because then you know what you need to be doing, how to get, and then you just need to know how to get there, right? Once you know what you're trying to do, it's easier to navigate the space, but I don't think you can just work on it like that. I would say it's vital to increasing your level of play, but I would also say not to worry about it too much, because I think it's just something that you'll ambiently improve over time as you get better at other elements of the game. And, you know, my own experience and, like, what I've seen from other people seems to, back up what I'm saying. Anecdotal evidence again, but, like, you know, I've watched someone, like, I've reviewed a video for somebody who, like, was obviously new to either the game or the FPS genre, and you can really tell by the way they move. And then I've watched videos from the same person from, like, weeks or months later, and they look way better. Like, they look like they are so much more confident controlling their character. And, like, at no point did I ever go, like, you know, practice turning corners, you know? It's just something that improved over time. Yeah, so there you go. And my own experience is, like, from playing a fighting game, so I won't bore you too much with that one, to be honest with you. Because I've been playing FPS games for so long, I don't remember from, like, fucking 20 years ago how bad I was then, but suffice to say, bad. But from learning to play a fighting game recently, I'm like, yep. Boy. It's your movement is so bad early on compared to when you get better at the game, like, it's quite startling. Alright, so are there any tips for when trying to block shatters? I've been trying out for a team to build synergy. We play goats a lot. I've noticed that a lot of the time I either get super over-aggressive or just don't see it coming. I know the basics are try to bait it. Swing till you bait the shatter, but are there any tips, ways to practice for when you aren't necessarily trying to bait it out? Pretty much just, like, be conscious of what Reinhardt's doing. Like, trying to think, like, because it's all prediction, really. Like, it's pretty hard to react to it, to block it. You can do it, but, like, it's pretty hard to react to it blocking-wise. Like, a lot of it, to be honest with you, is just prediction. So you just try and, like, put yourself in the enemy Reinhardt's shoes and think to yourself, alright, so, like, what's he trying to do right now, right? Because you can sort of tell by the way they're moving, roughly what they're trying to accomplish right now. Like, if you notice the Reinhardt is, like, kind of drifting off to the side, then he's definitely trying to Earth Shatter right there. So, like, you just try and keep an eye on him, like, you know? Like, it's gonna sound like such benign advice, but, like, if you're trying to block it, it really is just about, like, reading Reinhardt and being like, is he likely to use Earth Shatter right now? And if the answer is yes, I need to be ready to block it, you know? And then you either react or you just predict it one way or the other. Unfortunately, there's no way to practice this, because, like, oh god, this is another thing that would be so good if this was a practice mode in the game, and this is something I'm going to take straight out of a fighting game, right? Like, this is something you could take from a fighting game straight up and put in this game, and you could use it to practice a few different things. Because if you're training mode in a fighting game, you can record the dummy to perform a set action, right? But good trading modes will let you record multiple actions, like multiple sets of recordings for the dummy, and then it will pick them at random. So what would be incredibly sick is if I could load up a game with a bot. I'm playing Reinhardt, the bot's Reinhardt, and I tell the bot to Earth Shatter, Fire Strike, Charge, try and bait Earth Shatter. I could program it to do a bunch of different things and then do them randomly. And I could then practice reacting to its action. Because if it's going to do it randomly, I don't know which one it's going to do. I know it's got a set number of options it can do, but I don't know which one it will pick. So I have to react to what it does, right? So I see it start fire striking, I react and Earth Shatter mine, right? It might Earth Shatter, so I'm listening for that one, and then I practice reacting and putting my shield up to it, you know? I practice reacting to countercharge it when I'm close, things like that, right? That would be so sick if you could program the bot to do specific actions. Just like, literally, take control of the bot, record an action, record another action, pick randomly from these actions, and then just practice reacting to it. That would be so sick. Like, that would be genuinely good to practice for someone like Reinhardt. Because Reinhardt is about, like, reacting to a bunch of different things the other Reinhardt can do. And the other Reinhardt player, it's no different than the bot in the fact that it only has a set number of options it can pick from, right? So you can, like, watch what the Reinhardt player is doing and decide what options he currently has available to him. And then you know what he might try to do, and then you've practiced reacting to these things, so you're ready to do it, right? Like, that would be so sick if that was something you could do in this game to practice. But unfortunately, it is not. So pretty much the only way to practice is, like, get a friend to help you do that kind of thing, pretty much. But, God, that'd be so good if that was in there. But unfortunately, our practice options in this game are incredibly weak. Like, there's not a lot you can do to practice in this game. It's very sad, very sad. Advice on how to deal with a good wrecking ball? Crowd control. Like, have crowd control. If you don't have, like, good crowd control, like, Wrecking Ball gets to just do nonsense and kind of get away with it. Because you can't do anything to stop him. Wrecking Ball is an extraordinarily difficult hero to deal with if you have no crowd control on your team. Because he is so based around mobility as a hero that if you can't stop him from using his mobility, it'll be really sad for you. that's like genuinely the best I got for you in regards to that, because like everything else is kind of teamwork dependent, right? Where it's just like focus the wrecking ball down, don't stray off too far by yourself so people don't get like bullied by the wrecking ball, you know? For hero specific thing, it's try and have crowd control, and then you by yourself are a lot better at dealing with wrecking ball. Is this truly the state of the game? Oh, looking for advice how to defend on Paris? Don't have enough experience with Paris to really say comfortably yet. Other than usual standard stuff, play choke points, control high ground, you know, but Paris is a very weirdly laid out map, so I'm not confident in answering that question right now. Let's see, I was predominantly a console player, most of my friends played there, not able to afford gaming, quickly outpaced their ability. Lol, MB4 3800 is bronze on PC. Right, scrub. And finding myself unable to queue with them, and started slowly falling off playing. Playing alone was just a toxic mess. No one played their mains. Games were just total shit fest at 30 to 40% of the time. Last week I've been playing on PC. FPS player on PC. I had much better mechanics here, and within a week after hit 3,500... only to find it's exactly the same. People are absolutely... yeah, no, it doesn't get any better. Just because you get to Masters, don't think you finally made it. Don't think when you get to Grandmasters you finally made it either. It's all bad. Every elo's elo hell, my friend, unfortunately. Is there any way to play this game the way it's meant to be played, aside from arranging private pugs? Your comp SR matters so much to people, yet there are people I'm playing with at 3,500 on PC who are absolutely clueless. How do you get relatively high like this while being a toxic mess? I mean, it's important to remember that you probably only saw one game from that guy, so it could just be a really bad game. The guy might have had a really bad day and, like, acted like an asshole as a result of it. Not to say that excuses the behavior. But, just because you saw them in one game doesn't mean that's how they always are. You know, I mean, I do it, right? I'll watch somebody do something stupid and I'll go, what the fuck is wrong with this moron? I can't believe he's this bad at the game, right? I've seen him play one game, right? Like, I don't know. If you see the guy repeatedly, then, you know, you start to ask questions, but, like, just because they do it in the one game doesn't mean they always do it. You might just catch them on a bad game, right? Or a bad day. But to, basically, yeah, like, that's online games in general, unfortunately, but Overwatch has the distinction of being the worst community I've ever been a part of, and I'm someone who's played MOBAs. I played League of Legends, and you know what? The League of Legends community is a breath of fresh air compared to the Overwatch community. The Overwatch community is just like 99% assholes, I swear. And I'm one of them. I'm part of the problem. I acknowledge that. It's hard that way. How do I not zone out? Whenever I play a game or a match, in general, I have a strong tendency to just zone out. I lose focus or I start tunnel visioning hard. It's mainly tunnel visioning. If I ever watch someone else play, I try to backseat game in my head, and I feel like my decision-making is all there, but as soon as it comes to playing games, I lose all my focus or start tunneling vision. So the thing, you know, it's really easy to backseat, because it's a lot easier when you're detached from the game to analyze things, right? Because you don't have to worry about actually playing the game right now. You can dedicate your entire mental focus to, like, alright, what do you do right here, right now, right? That's a lot easier when you don't have to worry about playing the game. And I can tell you that's true from my own experience as well. Dude, I know so much about Dragon Ball FighterZ. I could sit here and talk to you about that game and how to play it for the next 3 hours, right? But when I play the game, guess what? That all falls apart immediately, because suddenly I have to actually play the game, right, while doing that. I watch a game, I go, oh yeah, oh my god, why could I watch a tournament? I'm like, well, why couldn't that scrub see that one coming? I would have absolutely teched that throw, right? Then I could play a game myself. I can't tech a throw to save my life, right? Like, I would have totally seen that coming. Oh, of course he used the command grab. Why would he do anything else right there? It's really easy to be like that when you're not playing the game. You think a lot more clearly about things then. Like, for focusing, you're fundamentally asking, like, how do I change part of who I am as a person? Which is very difficult to do. Basically, like, we all have really stupid monkey brains, and it takes a long time to get something through. So, like, really, there's only a couple of things you can do, and it's just like be really cognizant of when you're starting, like how much attention you're playing to the game, and just like chastise yourself whenever you catch yourself zoning out, and eventually it'll take, right? Like eventually that'll stick as long as you consistently catch yourself doing it and like tell yourself off for it. Something else you could try is like, you know, this is a little weirder, but like there are websites where you can set up a metronome, so you could just like set up a metronome and have it tome whatever, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever, you know, pick a number, right? And have it tome every now and then. And every time you hear it tome, you just like look around, you know, take in the UI for a second, look at the kill feed, take a look around, anybody flanking me, you know, think about what my teammates are doing, think about what the enemy team's doing, you know. Every time you hear it tome, you just do that real quick, just think about it. And then the theory being that eventually you wouldn't need the metronome anymore, it would just become muscle memory to do it every now and then, after trying it for a while. So you got that. Those are like the only suggestions I got for you really on that one though. Because it's something that's hard to fix about yourself and takes a lot of work, basically. Unfortunately. So we've done our 2 pages, it's over an hour, good job team. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I have started streaming on Twitch also, so Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 7 p.m. EST to like 10, 11-ish p.m. EST. We will play a video game, probably Overwatch, but occasionally it'll probably be other stuff as well, like, you know, maybe Fighters, League of Legends, something other, just pick a game, right? So, yep, I will link the Twitch account in the description, so come hang out, have a good time. If you made it all this way through and somehow managed to still like the video, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.